Hi everyone, it's Ms. Berlanga. So in this video, I'm going to explain how you do problem sets in science and in particular physical science. So these problem sets that you guys are going to be doing are similar to word problems that you will do in math, right? So I'm going to give you a scenario, you're going to see some numbers, and then you have to draw some kind of a diagram, and then you're also going to have to do some calculations or like do some drawings on that diagram in order to justify the answers that you give. So this is from the practice distance and displacement problem set. So this is what it looks like. And we are going to be working on problem number 1 first. So we're going to work on this first 2 problems together, and you have to do the last 2 problems by yourself. So the first problem, Malik is riding the bus home. He walks 8 seats back from the front of the bus, sits down, then notices a weird smell. Malik nopes out of there. He moves 5 seats forward towards the front of the bus. And then a friend who's sitting 3 seats behind Malik calls him over and says, hey, watch this video on my phone. And then Malik goes back there and joins his friend. So you're asked 3 things. What are the initial and final position for Malik? What is the total distance that Malik traveled? And you also need to give Malik's final displacement from the front of the bus. So the first thing that you want to do with problems like this, think about the motion that's going on, right? Is it going side to side, or is it going all around? Let's go ahead and pause the video right now, see if you can figure that out. All right, so you should have noticed that he's moving either to the front or to the back of the bus. He's only moving back and forth. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to draw a horizontal line. Let's draw a nice flat horizontal line. Now, whenever we draw a number line for a problem like this, we usually want to go ahead and figure out where the center is. So that's 0. And then we want to look at the numbers that we see in our problem. So if you look here, we see that 8 seats is the largest quantity we are given. So we want to go ahead on our number line and go a little bit higher than that largest number. So I'm going to go over here on the positive end of the number line. And I'm going to put 10. And about halfway there, between 0 and 10, I'm going to put 5. And then I'm going to add the rest of the numbers in my number line. Okay, now I've already figured out which end of the number line that I'm going to use, but if you haven't already, you can go ahead and fill in that negative end of the number line as well. And I'm just going to tell you guys right now, that we are not using the negative end of the number line because of the way that I'm going to draw the bus. However, if you wanted to go ahead and fill it all out, you absolutely can. You always want to start it out with both positive and negative. That is up to you. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw like an outline of the bus. And please bear with me because I am no artiste. This is going to be a funky looking bus. And I'm going to add a couple of wheels. Okay, and so the first thing we want to do is remember from those other problems we worked on before, the check for understanding, is that we want to start out the initial position for whatever object or person is moving. We normally want to start them out at 0. So this is going to be the optimal place to start every time. Now, we're going to go ahead and draw a stick figure for Malik. Just to represent him. But you don't have to draw the stick figure. You don't have to draw the outline of the bus. For this, I recommend that you do, so that really helps you visualize the problem. But you don't have to do that. One thing I would do is go ahead and label that starting position with the word start. So now you know where you started. And then we want to go ahead and place the initial position below the number line. So remember that initial position is x0 or x0. And because he's at the 0 mark, I'm going to put 0 down. Now the units that we're using here are actually seats, not meters, right? They're not real units. But you can go ahead and use seats as if we were using meters. So Malik starts out at 0 seats. And now the way I've done this, he's just going to move in the positive end of the number line. So the first thing that he does is he moves 8 seats back from the front of the bus. In other words, he's walking towards the back. So we're going to go over here to the 8, and we're going to put a dot to where Malik moved. And now here you can either use an arrow to represent that movement, or I prefer to use a little arch whenever I have a number line and a drawing, because there's a lot of stuff going on in this picture. So I'm going to use like a little arch with an arrow at the end to represent where he ended up. And then remember from the ant video that we watched a few days ago that you want to highlight, you want to label that line. So anytime there's movements, 8 seats back. Anytime there's movement, you want to go ahead and label that. So then after he walks 8 seats back, he notices that weird smell, PU, and then he goes 5 seats forward. So where should he end up? That's right. So he ends up at the 3 on the number line, and we're going to go ahead and put a dot there as well, and then we're going to draw another little arch to represent that movement. Starting at the 8, little arch, their arrow, and then we're going to go ahead and label that as well. So he moves 3 seats forward. Excuse me, not 3, 5. He moves 5 seats forward. Okay. And then he's got one more movement that he makes. So his friend is sitting 3 seats behind where he's at right now, says, hey, Emily, come on over, watch this video. So he's going to move 1, 2, 3 towards the end of the bus, in other words, the positive end of the number line, over here. And then this can be represented again either by an arrow or an arch. You run out of places to put arches on the top of the number line, you just put them on the bottom. So one more, 3 seats back. And then this is where he finishes. So I'm going to draw a stick figure of Malik. And then here's his friend hanging out at seat 6. So because this is where he finishes, I want to make sure to label that position. And then I'm going to go ahead and over here as close to the 6 as possible, close to the number line, just like we did earlier when we labeled our initial position. I'm going to go ahead and label the final position here as well. So XF stands for final position, is equal to positive, if he's on the positive end of the number line, positive 6 seats. So remember that anytime you give a position, it's got to have 3 things. It's got to have the number, the units, and also the direction. And I'm going to go ahead and just mark that so it really stands out. And then that's it. That's all you have to do for the picture. You'll always want to draw a picture first before you do anything else. And as long as you include a number line, you include the initial and final position, and those movements that are being made, you're going to be able to go back and then very quickly get the answers that you're required to give on a problem like this. So part A, I'm going to do these in another color to stand out a little bit. Part A asked, what is the initial and final position? What was Malik's initial and final position? So Malik's initial and final position, pretty easy to give because we've already figured them out from the drawing, right? So X0 initial position is equal to 0 seats. And then his final position, XF, was equal to positive 6 seats. And whenever you guys give an answer to a problem like this, make sure that those answers are clearly labeled, right? I want to be able to see if I ask you for to give me A, B, C, or just A and B, right? Whatever those things that, how many ever things I ask you to give me, make sure that those are very clearly labeled, right? And it really helps to box them or to circle those final answers. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at part B. What is the total distance that Malik traveled? And again, I'm going to use a different color. Part B. So we want to know the distance traveled, right? That lowercase d. So if we come over here to our picture, we notice that he made 3 movements, right? Moved 8 seats back, 5 seats forward, 3 seats back. And remember that distance, all we care about is that cumulative, that entire journey just how many steps were covered in that entire journey. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take just the numbers from each of those pieces of this journey, and we're just gonna add them together. Okay, so lowercase d is equal to 8 seats plus 5 seats plus 3 seats. And notice that I am using the units here. So again, no direction, but let's use those units. So 8 plus 5 plus 3 is equal to, let's see, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 8 is 16. So he moved a total of 16 seats. And again, we want to box off that answer or just make it really obvious that that was the final answer. So he moved a total of 16 seats. All right, now the displacement, there's 2 ways to get it. And one of them is really easy, is you're just gonna use that graph that you already put together. So this diagram that we already put together. And we're just gonna trace our finger, or you could draw an arrow, or you could draw a little arch, it's really up to you, from the starting position all the way to the ending position. So I find it easiest to do like an arrow in a different color, but if you have a pencil, you can do an arch, right? I'm just actually gonna do it below the number line here. Remember that we started at 0, we ended at 6. So I'm just gonna draw a little arch. Oh, and that color's not cooperating with me. Let's just use black. So I'm gonna go from 0 all the way up here to 6. And I'm gonna label this arrow displacement, so delta x. So the first thing we wanna do is look at that length, right? We're moving 6. Remember our units, they are seats. And then we want to look, did we move in the positive or in the negative direction overall? So if you look here, you notice we moved to the right in the positive direction. So that's positive 6 seats. And then that's it. That is our displacement right there. However, remember there's another way to do it. There's 2 methods to do this. So this is one method and it's perfectly valid as long as you are showing your work. However, you want to know the second method as well, because you will be asked to provide one or the other, and you don't know ahead of time which way you'll have to do it. So remember that displacement is equal to the final position minus the initial position. And we already figured out our initial and final position earlier, right? So positive 6 seats minus 0 seats. And then remember that a number minus 0 is always just that same number, right? So positive 6 seats, and that is our displacement, right? So we had 2 ways of getting it. And look, we got the same, this bell is so annoying. And then we got the same answer as before. All right. In the next video, I'm going to show you how you do the second problem in this worksheet, and that one is going to be a 2-dimensional. So this was a 1-dimensional problem, and I'll show you how to do the 2-dimensional.